Hello and welcome to Decoding the New Economy. Today I'm joined by Joe Fernandez, co-founder and CEO of Klout. Joe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, first of all, let's kick off with what is Klout?
Sure. So Klout is the standard for measuring influence online. We help individuals understand and benefit from their influence, and we help businesses connect with those people.
Right, so how did the idea come about?
Kind of a crazy situation. I had jaw surgery in late 2007. I was living in New York City. I had jaw surgery. My jaw was wired shut for about 3 months. And during that time, I couldn't speak. So I basically completely relied on social media. I would use Twitter and Facebook to keep people informed, and that was, really the only interactions I was having. And in that period of time, it really changed the way I looked at those platforms, and that it was amazing to me that the people who trusted me the most, I could tell them my opinion on anything instantly, and vice versa, what they were saying would impact me, and the data was actually there to measure this. So I got really obsessed with the idea and started building Klout.
Right, now you've described this as the minimal viable product, if you like. So you're using spreadsheets to do all of this?
I mean, the early days, yeah, it was super minimal.
Right.
And, part of it, I think it speaks more to how I'm not a very good engineer.
Right.
As much as it did the strategy of,
Sure.
all the lean startup strategies. So when people would register for Klout, it would send me an email. I would go in and manually download their social media data into Excel and run the algorithm in Excel, and then I would manually send them an email I would manually then go update their page and load it up to the server, and then manually tell them that it was ready. It was very, very minimal product, and so we've evolved obviously a long way from going where each person registering would get touched by me to now over 600 million people every single day. Their Klout score updates automatically overnight. We look at nearly 15 billion pieces of data a day. Thankfully we've been able to build a team of engineers way better than me.
So at what stage did you realize that you've got to scale this thing, you've got to move off that spreadsheet onto a more sophisticated algorithm?
Pretty instantly it caught on really quick.
Right.
The Klout it taps into ego.
Right.
And ego, and everyone wants to brag. And then, the viral nature of that, we actually grew reasonably quickly. But it was obvious, the plan was never to stay that junk, that bad of a system. It was I wanted to evolve it. So I was able to get a team in Singapore to help me kind of take it to the next level.
Now I'm kind of interested in that too. Why did you choose Singapore?
The lack of strategic thinking is a common theme. It was a more happenstance that I had a good friend who had married a Singaporean woman, had moved to Singapore. He was from New York, moved to Singapore and opened an offshore dev shop.
Yeah.
I had done some work with them and knew they were a great team. So it was just kind of napped. It was the only people I knew who I could get to work on this. So I actually went to Singapore. I offshored myself and went and stayed in their office for roughly 6 months. And Singapore was great from specifically from a focus standpoint, because the time difference from the U.S. When I would be at work all day, it was just we stayed very focused and was detached from kind of the echo chamber, and built something we were proud of.
Right. So with that, you said how many hundreds of millions of data points you're hitting at the moment. How many sources of data are you pulling into Klout now?
So we pull from 15 different social networks, but we also pull from Wikipedia, we pull from search, we pull from... We have Microsoft invested in us, so we have a relationship with the Bing team. So it's 400 data points that make up the Klout score, and 15 billion pieces of data every day.
Oh, right, okay.
It's a very robust and intense system that is used to generate, and it's not just the Klout score, it's what people are influential about, who they influence, understanding where their influence lies, and giving them the data to improve that.
Yeah. Now, with that being a measuring tool, Every measure's got its own limitations on that. Do you find it frustrating that sometimes that gets misused by PR and marketing companies?
Yeah, it certainly can be. One of the things Klout gets used a lot in is customer service.
Yeah.
And when I see examples of Klout being used in a way that is just not good for everybody, I get frustrated. And an example of that, I believe everybody deserves great customer service.
Right.
But certain people, and those people tend to have high Klout scores that are relevant to that company's topics. For example, if I go into a retail fashion store, I don't have a high fashion Klout, so I'm not that important. But in consumer electronics, I might be. The people who are appropriate for that business, I think it does make sense to build a deeper relationship with those people and give them a heightened level of service and a connection with them that persist over a long period of time. But that shouldn't happen at the expense of everybody else getting terrible service.
Sure.
So that's probably the thing I get the most frustrated about. We don't see a ton of that, but when I do, we try to educate people on the right way to use the tool.
Now, you mentioned before that there's an element of ego in this. Obviously, you get quite a few people trying to gain Klout to push those numbers up.
Yeah, I mean, people, the ego-centric nature of Klout, of here's your name, here's your face, and here's a score right next to it, would drive behavior that, was just unnatural. And the algorithm constantly evolves to stay ahead of that. And we see, we want authentic engagement. And the power of Klout is that it's measuring interactions between people.
Right.
So, Google is obviously amazing and something we always aspirationally think about. But one of the weaknesses in just measuring the web is it's easy for one individual to create a tool that links a bunch of web pages together.
Right.
On Klout, your scores, we don't care how many followers you have. We care about when you create content.
Yeah. How
do people react? And who are those people? So, it's hard to fake other influencers caring about what you say.
Right.
So the score is self-regulating in that sense, but we are constantly evolving it, whether it's bringing in new networks, rebalancing things, new behaviors emerge, and we are always there kind of monitoring that.
Right. Now, just to change the subject slightly, earlier this year you got taken over by Lithium. How did you find it going from being a founder of your own startup to now working for a larger company?
So we were acquired roughly 6 months ago, and we were in a very fortunate position. We weren't looking to be acquired.
Right.
We had a lot of runway in the bank, a lot of momentum as a business. But I met Rob Tarkoff, the CEO of Lithium, and we really connected on not just business vision of where we thought the world was going, but values in terms of how we want to run a company, what we think is important. And when we had that turned into more conversations, and through those conversations it became clear that we had an opportunity to jump a few steps ahead.
Right.
And together it was the kind of I know this is cliche, the 1 and 1 equals 3 was what we felt. So it was worth sacrificing some of the autonomy to have the power of a bigger organization and a broader message. So there are days that it's challenging as we try to merge these two companies and you get used to working together, but we're just 6 months into it, and I think inevitably you have to go through a process of letting the dust settle, and we all feel that the potential of what we're building is so big that it's worth working through that.
Yeah. So where do you see the future going with social media measurement and engagement?
As individuals spend more and more time on social, and it gets easier and easier to create content, but harder and harder to get noticed. I think individuals are going to care a lot more about their analytics and wanting to be more effective at using these tools. And the promise for businesses of being able to connect to the right people and being able to enable those people to tell a story is kind of the holy grail of marketing.
Right.
So word of mouth is kind of goes back to the very beginning of marketing. So I think we're very, very early on this journey. I think you'll see huge investments by both consumers in terms of their time and businesses in terms of their money in this space. And we're excited to be, hopefully, aspirationally, a meaningful piece of that.
Right. So what's your advice to anybody looking at starting a startup now? Get that spreadsheet out and run it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm incredibly passionate about entrepreneurship. One of the things I'm most proud of is we've had probably 5 or 7 or 8 even really interesting companies sprout out of Klout.
Right.
And maybe that's people seeing me and saying like, well, if that dude can do it, I surely can.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I'll take it. And that makes me, it's really awesome to see people go on and try to take on big challenges and create new things. So the biggest challenge, as I faced, and when I talk to the people who are kind of graduating from Klout and going and starting stuff, is that fear of, oh crap, I'm going to give up my job and my paycheck, and what if it doesn't work? Personally, I let that fear drive me, and be something you learn to get comfortable with. It can feel paralyzing, but get over it, and you recommend. The biggest challenge is kind of giving up that security and being able to stomach that risk. And I personally let it drive me, and it's for a new entrepreneur, somebody going through that, emotionally and mentally preparing yourself for this constant swing of feeling like I'm going to take over the world to I'm so screwed. And having that be on a kind of hourly basis is the biggest challenge, but it's worth it even if you fail to kind of go for it. And so that's really my kind of core advice, is just go for it.
Yeah. So 5 startups sprouting out of Klout. So you're looking at having a Klout mafia like the PayPal mafia down the track.
I mean, I really believe in 2 or 3 years you'll see we had a very young, very ambitious, incredibly smart and passionate team, and those folks are taking on their next set of challenges. And I do think you'll see the Klout alumni, we call ourselves Klout Laws, out there in the kind of broader startup scene as like a force to be reckoned with and doing cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I look forward to hearing how that force goes, Joe. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining Decoding the New Economy.